Hey folks, I'm Mike. Do you hate ads? I hate ads. You know what I like? Patreon.com/Inkdependence. It keeps this blog ad-free. Hello folks, welcome to Inkdependence.com. Today we're taking a look at this ink. This is Lamy's Crystal Ink Peridot. This was the other Lamy crystal ink that I got from Dromgoole. I bought this at the Atlanta Pen Show, so if you're interested in this one, go check it out at Dromgoole. These go for about $16 a bottle, and it is a 30 ml bottle. Inside this box, you have a very different Lamy bottle to the normal one. It's got a nice interior, actually. I like the original Lamy bottle better. This one looks nice, but the original one was very functional. It has a deep well in the middle, and it has like the blotter tape around the bottom. It's kind of a weird bottle, but I think it's a little more functional in this one. I actually had some trouble filling this pen from it. This is one of the two pens I had it in, and this is a Carolina Pen Co. Charleston, which I just love. I mean, look at that. It looks like clay or Play-Doh or something. And it has an oblique broad nib that Mark Backus did for me. I just handed him a pen and said, "Hey, Mark, yeah, do whatever you want with this one," and he made me a very nice oblique. But with this number 6 Yovo nib, I actually had a hard time getting into the bottle because it's fairly shallow. So, that's the thing to watch out for. I almost syringe filled that guy. I didn't have any problem with this one, however. This is a Faber-Castell Loom, and it also, this one has a, what is this? This is a fine nib. So I went oblique broad, and fine. And I didn't have any problem filling this one from the bottle because it's a smaller nib. But if you have a big nib or, something like that, you might have a little bit of an issue filling from the bottle. Okay, let's look at this ink on paper. It is, as I say here in the sort of my little comment blurb at the bottom, I'm kind of torn on this one for the following reasons. I really like this color. I think it looks good. It's a very, very dark green, which is actually a little bit of a problem because it's named for Peridot, which is a fairly pale gemstone. It's kind of a seaweedy green or something. Like, it's closer to this, which is just like some real watered down, like there were some remnants. I just put some water in here. It looks nice. This is more like an emerald, really. So, it says Peridot, looks emeraldy, but I love emerald. It's one of my very favorite greens, as we'll see in a couple of swatches here. The other thing about this is that it is a fairly wet ink. So if you put this in a wet nib, you're not going to love it. And this oblique broad is not like super wet or anything, but it's a little on the wet side. And here's the other thing. On the 20-pound paper, it spreads and it bleeds pretty bad on the 20 pounds. Here it is on this 20-pound, 30% recycled copy paper from Staples. Keep in mind this is not like high-quality paper or anything, but from both, you can actually, if you look at these two, unless you are looking at like line shapes like this P, it might be hard to tell this is a broad and this is a fine because the ink spread out so much on here. And then on the back, especially from the oblique broad, you get a lot of bleed through. The fine is better, but still a lot of dots and that sort of thing bleeding through. And then there's this. On the back of this is Rhodia's 80 grams per square meter paper, and it's coated and stuff. I actually got some bleed from the swatch, which is not normal. Rhodia usually resists ink and water and everything very well. And I do have a few spots of bleed through, even from just the writing. So here and here, and some here, and then like a little bit down here. So yeah, I've got this coming through the paper, and that's weird. I didn't expect that. So this one is a little bit of a bleeder. Now that said, when we look at the Inky Fingers notebook, well, in fact, let's just go ahead and do that now since we're on the topic. This is the Inky Fingers currently inked. This is wheat straw paper, and here are my two Lamy Peridot samples. Here I have it in the left foot? Yeah, it is a left foot oblique in the broad, and then this one is that fine. And it looks very nice. I think it looks especially good from this one, but more green over here perhaps. Anyway, it looks good, and no problems with it coming through the back. I didn't have a single speck there. And then on this side, yeah, nothing here either. So this handled it perfectly well. The Rhodia, for some weird reason, just kind of didn't. I don't know why. It's a weird one. And then here's the Ink Journal Tomoe River currently inked book, and here it is on there. It looks very nice from the left oblique again, of course. On the back, yeah, no bleed or anything. It shows through, but that's because Tomoe River is very, very thin, but no bleed or anything. And then here it is from the fine nib. right here. And again, like, no problem. So I don't know what to do about that information, you know? Like, it's not great on Rhodia, it's real bad on crappy copy paper, but it's fine on the other things that I've used it in. So, man, I don't know. Keep this on the good paper, and I think you'll like it. But if you want to stray into, you know, bad paper, definitely not. Rhodia, weirdly not. Anyway, whatever. So that's why I'm a little bit torn on this ink, is because I really like the way it looks. The wet flow is very nice. It feels very smooth on the paper. It's got a nice nib feel, but it also has a little bit of a bleedy tendency, which is kind of weird. You get a little bit of sheen, you get a little bit of shading, and you get a lot of fast drying. I noticed that even on Rhodia, it dried very quickly, and I think that's part of why it's soaking in. A lot of fast dry inks will dry quickly by just soaking into whatever media they're put on, and that's a good tactic, except you know, it does also tend to not behave well on bad paper. So it even went through Rhodia, which is weird. That's like, there are like 4 inks on that list of things that have bled through Rhodia for me. So, you know, and from these 2 nibs, as you can see, this one is much darker than this one. I think it's just wetter. And the oblique is kind of like stubbish, or actually this one's a little bit sharp. It's kind of like an oblique italic sort of. Oblique just means, by the way, that your nib is shaped kind of like this. Like your left foot with your big toe here, and then it goes down. So that when I write and I rotate my pen in a little bit, it writes more or less like an italic. So anyway, I think it's just concentrating more ink in the place, and that's maybe why it was, you know, bleeding through and all that sort of thing. Whereas the fine is a regular old round nib, but very nice smooth one. It feels great on this, and I like it a lot. Okay, let's go ahead and do the water drop test, and then look at some color comparisons, since we've already done our paper comparisons. All right. Get a little bit on the words up here. Spread it about. And there we have it. Okay. All right. Looks like it's doing okay. Let's just sit for a sec. All right, let's blot that away. Remember, blot, don't rub or smear. There we go. All right. And yeah, pretty good, actually. I don't see any real problems here. Yeah, you can totally still read the text. You can totally see the lines. All the dots are there. It got a little bit, I mean, you know, some of the color moved around a little bit, and you get a little bit here on the paper towel. But I wrote this maybe, I don't know, 20 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago. And so it hasn't had a lot of time to dry or anything like that, and no problem. Also, I gotta say, there's no problem with smearing from this one. A lot of times when people see like, oh, there's a little bit of sheen, that means it's gonna smear. I haven't had that at all, so you know, that's cool. Here is the chromatography for this one. Right there. And all kinds of interesting stuff in here. I mean, it's green, obviously, but you have these nice base notes of green, which do sort of mirror, I guess, what's left over. But I don't know. I see a lot of the darks, or the you know, bright green stuff here too. So dark green down here, like an olive, then sort of, and this actually might have been a better agate color, or Peridot. Then you get like a real like foresty green stripe here, and then like the emerald streak up here. So yeah, really interesting ink. Lots of green tones in there to check out. Let's go ahead and look at color comparisons here. So here's Peridot. This is, of course, on a coloring card, my new favorite thing for these. And let's show it next to some dark greens. Actually, let's just start with this one. This is actually Diamine's November Rain, which is, I'm pretty sure, a German exclusive. I don't remember. Yeah, it's a German exclusive, I think. Anyway, whatever, you can look it up. I hadn't thought about that until just now. But it is a super sheeny ink. You can see that sheen there, and you can see the sheen on here a little bit where it pooled. And there you go. So the base color of Diamine November Rain is very close, actually, to what Peridot has. But then there's just a ton of sheen piled on top of it to the point that it looks kind of red or purpley. Then let's look at, this is Monteverde's green, just regular old Monteverde green, which I think is fairly close in terms of the darker tones. This one definitely shades lighter than green ink does, but I haven't had this whole bleeding problem with Monteverde green, so maybe go with the green. Also less expensive for the Monteverde. Then here is franklin-christoph Emerald 357, which is one of my favorite greens. It's sort of an emeraldy green. It's got like touches of blue in there. You can see it's kind of coolish. And I think this is very similar to the lighter bits here. which is nice. This is one of my very favorites, and it's one I always recommend to people. So check out franklin-christoph's Emerald 357. And then lastly, this is one you can also get from Dromgoole's or from Anderson Pens, and that's pretty much it in the United States. This is Sailor's Ink Studio number 964, and this was sent out by my friend Terry, who's just like surprised sent me some ink samples, which was totally fun. I haven't got this in a pen yet, but I'm gonna soon. And I think this is fairly close. It's maybe like the tone's not quite the same across them, and this one doesn't shade as hard in either direction, but looks real nice, real nice. Of course, hard to get your hands on and kind of expensive. So anyway, that's Lamy Crystal's Peridot, and I'm honestly a little bit torn on this one. I don't know if I recommend it or not. If you like what you see here, I'd say grab a bottle because it's not bad. As long as you keep it on good paper or whatever, or use finer nibs perhaps, but it is a little bit bleedy and kind of inconsistently bleedy, which is weird. So, use, I don't know, get a sample maybe. Let me see, does Dromgoole have samples? Let's see. They do. You can get a 4 ml sample for $2.50. Get yourself a sample. Tell them I sent you, otherwise they won't know that you saw this review here. And I will see y'all later on. Check out my social medias where I am at Madison on Twitter. I am at Inkdependence on the Instagrams. I am Inkdependence Mike on Twitch, where I sometimes play video games. And you can check out my store at inky-d.com for all kinds of merch, including stickers and pen rests and all kinds of stuff there. Rickshaw cases and whatnot. So I will see y'all later. Peace out.